There are spirits everywhere, watching, waiting, seeking that opportune time to reveal themselves like no other. They fill our worlds with so much.
Seriously? You didn't just do that. You farted on the promo? What's wrong with you? I thought you were professional. Go away. Go. I got it. Hey everybody, it's Brian Bowden, host of Nobo Boomy, where we explore deep inside the Goblin universe. We have an amazing show that covers the paranormal, conspiracies, music, art, entertainment, trending topics, and so much more. Please join us by subscribing to the show on Podbean at InsideTheGoblinUniverse.podbean.com, on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, and everywhere you find podcasts. It's an informative, fun, and overall entertaining good time, and we'll keep the gas to ourselves. Why don't you burp next time? Somebody get me Brian Anderson.
Welcome to Paranormal Heart, a place where people can talk about their paranormal experiences. With your host, Kat Ward, along with a special segment, Oddities with John Mallard.
Hey, welcome back, folks, to Paranormal Heart. Bienvenue tout le monde. You can find us on the second and last Sunday of each month on Podbean and YouTube. You can also find us on SparkRadioNet.org, iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, Podchaser, and anywhere you find fine podcasts. Don't forget, if you enjoy the show, please show your support, tell others about us. Hit that like button, share, subscribe, and follow. Folks, I also want to let you know I've been pretty busy lately. I've started a new podcast with my buddy and co-host Paul James Caiden. It's called The People Under the Stairs. We discuss the odd, the bizarre, spirituality, paranormal, and so much more. So far it's a monthly show, but we may change that later on. We're still fine-tuning the show. You can find us on YouTube and Anchor. And if you'd like to send us comments to our new show, drop us an email at people.stairs3@gmail.com. Hope you check it out. This episode's shout-out goes to my listeners in Germany. Thank you for your support. I greatly appreciate it so much. Much love to you all. In episode 39, my guest has been intrigued with the paranormal since his first encounter at a young age. Since then, he's been researching the paranormal to try and find answers to the unknown, such as, is there life beyond death? He has devoted his free time in investigating the paranormal not only to find answers to his questions, but in helping others who have similar experiences. His goal is to help others live without paranormal activity that is interfering in their lives. I introduce to you founder of Paranormal Genesis, Chris Thomas, and joining Chris, Al Santoriga.
Okay.
Hello, Chris. Hello, Al. Welcome to Paranormal Heart. I'm so happy that you're here.
Hello. Thank you for having us, Kat.
Thank you.
That's awesome, Al. For all you folks who are listening, Al has been on here a couple of times, and he highly recommended Chris here. And when I have dear friends recommend other people, I best be having them on. So before we get into it, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourselves, and then we'll get into talking about ghosts. Chris, if you'd like to go first.
All right. Well, my ghost thing kind of started when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
I was one of those people that saw things as a kid, and it wasn't until like 4 years later now that I started realizing I was attracted to the paranormal, and one thing led to another. Next thing I know, I started investigating, and It's like the pieces that I've been wondering along the way have been like filling themselves in, so to speak,
Oh, nice.
as I've been going along. Because I mean, some of my investigations and stuff I do just coincide with what's going on with me, and it's I don't know whether that's freaky or weird, but I mean, I've learned to accept paranormal in my world because it's become a part of me, and I like doing it. And as much as I enjoy doing it, the more I keep doing it, the more I want to do it more. So it's like going down the rabbit hole, so to speak. The more you keep wanting to do it, the more you want to do it more. That's pretty much how I am about it. I love the paranormal.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny because I find when people have experiences, they either shut down or they're like us. They get into it and they want to know more information.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I look at it now. Because I mean, the more I want to learn, the more I want to keep learning. If I could go and do more than what I know now, I definitely would take advantage. I would love that, because if someone knows something that I don't know, oh my God, I want to know that information. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like we all should be helping each other out. That's the way I look at it. Because I mean,
Go ahead.
I mean, if you know something that someone else doesn't know about, and you could share that information regarding the paranormal that they don't know, like Al actually told me a few things, like working with him, he gave me this little periscope wand. We were in a cemetery in where was that cemetery? In New York, Al?
Yeah, it was in Dutchess County. I think it was in East Fishkill. It was a slave cemetery. Yeah. And Chris had never worked with the periscope wand, and that was a new instrument to him.
Yeah.
And so I let him use mine that night, and he had an amazing experience with it.
I liked it so much, I got one.
I've never used one, so could you kind of walk us through, describe the piece of equipment for the listeners, and just tell us how it's used?
It's kind of like it's like a sensor, but you hold it in your hand, and then it's got like two lights. One's red and one's green, and when they break the sensor, you could see the lights change. Like they go on automatically. Like let's just say like the ghost is like standing right next to you. It'll turn red or it'll turn green to let you know it's there. You know, it's very sensitive. I was amazed how sensitive it is, because what it picks up is unbelievable. Because you could be in one room and something be coming from you. You know, you just have to hold this thing out in front of you for maybe like 2 seconds, and the lights will go off. I mean, I've started using it since, and I'm amazed, because I've used it in several other investigations after Al, and I just left it sitting on a table, and the lights were going off. I was amazed. I was totally amazed by that periscope. It's a neat piece of technology.
Yeah,
and
it's not that expensive, really.
It's not that expensive either. That's the best thing about it. It was like $30 or $40 tops.
Oh wow, that's nice. So it's a field meter. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Well, it works off of negative and positive ions in the air, and I believe the red light is the positive ions, and the green light is the negative ions, and it has a filament that goes across from one to the other. So depending on what kind of electromagnetic energy is coming in, depending on which side will light up. And sometimes you'll get a fluctuation of both coming in at the same time, and both sides will light up together. So, but it is a very sensitive piece of equipment. Yeah.
Actually, I think the team that I'm in, we actually have one, and I hadn't actually realized what it was called.
Yeah, if you're holding it up, it looks like a stick with a peace sign on it. Okay.
Oh, okay, yeah.
with a little filament in the middle. Yeah.
I thought it looked like that thing Egon was holding in Ghostbusters.
Nice,
I
yeah.
don't remember.
You ever seen Ghostbusters? The first part of Ghostbusters where he's walking around and that thing went up.
I don't remember. It's been too long.
Oh man, I love that movie. I'm sorry, but
Yeah, me too.
My mom jokes around with me. Goes, "What'd you get? The Ghostbusters thing?" And I'm like,
The proton pack.
yeah. I wish I had the proton pack.
So, Chris, tell us your first paranormal experience you had.
That's a real good question. I was really young, and my father and I took us on a tour of Gillette Castle here in East Hampton, Connecticut.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to be like 10 years old, tops. That thinking, I'm not sure exactly how old I was because it happened so random. We were in the place taking a tour, and then some woman like in 18th century dress walked by and was pointing me which way to go. And I went to my dad and like grabbed his leg and said, "Hey, Dad, that lady's telling us to go that way." And I don't think he saw the lady, but I did.
Nice.
That type of thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
I've been wanting to go back there.
Did you follow where she was pointing?
Yeah, we ended up, because it was like the end of the tour.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I don't know if she was there or not. I mean, I saw her.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he saw her, but I saw her as clear as day. I could probably describe her in detail. That's how unbelievable it was for me. Because to this day, I mean, I thought as you get older, your sight and your sound and your senses tend to die down.
Mm-hmm.
As I've gotten older, my sight and senses have kind of perked up. Like I see stuff now that I still can't explain. But
Nice.
What's happened to me then sometimes happens to me now.
Mm-hmm.
And that blows my mind to this day. Like I'm like, I didn't think I had it. Like
Yeah.
I thought after a certain age it goes dormant, so to speak. Or some kind of, you build I forget what it's called, like a barrier or a shield to stop it. But so I don't think that's true, because I think once it's with you when you're young, it will always be with you. You know what I'm saying? You can't really
Agreed.
you can't turn it off as like a switch. It's not that easy. I don't think so. I mean, realistically, I don't think you can.
I think perhaps
I think what you're trying to say, Chris, is that as we get older, we filter it out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how to word it correctly. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, I think a lot of people, when they do lose their abilities, I don't think it's really gone. It's just for whatever reason, there's a blocker there. And if people work at it and try and practice, kind of like a muscle. If you don't use your muscle, you're going to get weaker. So at least that's my beliefs. So your first encounter, did that scare you, or were you really intrigued?
I was intrigued. I kind of thought it was like, okay, what's going on here? Like, did I see that? How come I only saw it and he didn't? And that's the part that kind of blew my mind, because I asked my father to this day, and he says he didn't see the lady. He didn't see her at all.
Maybe he did and he doesn't want to admit it.
Our UFO encounter happened like 10 years later.
Oh, tell me about that.
I was graduating high school, and my dad wanted to take us to California and Arizona for vacation, like to say, all right, this is your trip for graduating. And we're like, oh, this is great. And he was fascinated with the meteor crash in Arizona. So we took a trip. We went from California to Vegas to Arizona, then back to California. We did like a triangle. We did like a big circle of the whole area. Mm-hmm. And we were leaving the the meteor site. And as we were driving back towards where we were staying, a car was coming our way. But it wasn't a car, because as the car lights came closer to us, instead of coming closer to us, they went right up into the sky.
Oh.
And my mom, my brother, my father, we all saw this. And my mom was just like, "Get out of here now! Like, get us out of here now!"
Yeah.
And me, I was just like, "Did I just see that?" Like, I was like 16 years old, 17 years old, and I'm like, "Who's gonna believe me when I tell this story?" You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Wow.
I mean,
Did
I
you?
thought about writing a book, because
You should.
to, Linda Zimmerman, and she
Mm-hmm.
writes books, and I was thinking that maybe I could find someone who could collaborate with me on a book and help me put my stories to paper, because I'm really not a good I don't know, I'm really not good at typing this. I don't know, I really haven't, unless I really sit down and put my mind to it. I mean, I'm so busy, I haven't had time to really do it
Yeah.
with
I think
what's
that.
going on.
I think that would be interesting if you could put all that in the book. So,
I'd like to. If I had the time, I would do it. I really would.
so when you saw that UFO, do you recall if there was any sounds that came with it or
There
any
were no
feelings?
sounds whatsoever. We just
Wow.
saw the lights.
Yeah.
That was the part that blew our mind, the lights, because we literally thought this car was coming towards us.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we needed to move out of the way. And before it even got anywhere near us, it was gone. And we were just like, you ever get that look in the face where you look at each other like, what
Yeah.
just happened here?
What just happened?
It's
Yeah.
pretty much like we all like looked at each other. And my mom was just like, get out of here now. Get out of here now. My mom was like the first person to like I know she didn't want to be around for that. But
Yeah.
to this day, when I tell the story, she's like, I always try to call her up or talk to her and say, do you remember that time? And she was like, yeah, I was there. Like, they don't. It's hard for my parents are starting to warm up with this,
Mm-hmm.
with me and the paranormal, because they were skeptics, and I find it hard to believe they're skeptics, because after seeing that UFO, I figured they would be believers.
Mm-hmm. So did you just see the lights that flew above you, or did you actually see anything too? Like, did you see a
Well,
I don't want to say craft, but
we didn't see the craft, more or less. It
Mhm.
looked like a car just turned the lights and just flew away. Like the car wasn't there. Like the lights, it looked like it was coming at us like a car, like the main lights of a car, and then all of a sudden the lights just broke up and went up into the sky, and I'm like we were just too surprised by what was going on to realize what was going on, because we were just there to see the meteor. We were on vacation. It didn't really sink into us until after,
yeah.
you know.
Oh, can you hold that thought, Chris? Al just got disconnected, so I'm just going to
No,
stop.
I'm
Oh,
back.
you're back.
I'm back.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm back.
I saw the lights on my phone change, and I'm like, okay, what's going on here?
Yeah, Skype, eh? So, can you describe the sound?
There really wasn't much sound. I didn't hear the sound. We didn't hear
Okay.
anything. I mean, per se. Sound.
Chris, was there any missing time?
No,
You read my mind, Al.
I thought about that too. There was no missing time. I wish. I mean, that would have been. Then I probably would have known I've been abducted. You know what I'm saying? We would have been abducted at that point in time. But we weren't. We were just happened to be driving by, and all of a sudden this happens. Like, I mean, I wish we had. I wish we had was a camera. I really wish we had a camera, because everything's caught on camera now, and everybody has all this stuff on camera now, and I wish I could have recorded it in some way, shape, or form.
Well, at least for this encounter, you had the rest of your family with you, so they saw it too. Not like that first encounter with the lady where your father said he didn't see it. So
That's true.
yeah,
They did all see that. I mean, my mom was just like, I mean, we weren't that far. What I thought was ironic was that meteor where it crashed wasn't that far from Area 51.
huh?
And we were thinking whether or not it had something to do with Area 51.
Mm-hmm.
Because he wanted to go to Area 51 too, and the farthest we got was to the board, like to the fences. And he was like, I'm not going any further. I'm like,
Yeah. You probably would have been stopped anyways. Yeah. What other encounters have you had? So that's a ghost, a UFO. Have you seen any cryptids?
No, I keep missing that trip.
Ah, yeah,
Sorry.
I've
that's
invited
okay.
him out a bunch of times, and he's
I keep
always,
missing
you know,
that trip.
he's always has to work. So,
Ah, it's too
it's
bad.
tough with everybody's schedules. You know, it's very hard to
Yeah.
get everybody to be able to get together. You know, on any particular date. There's always, like with me, we've been doing this, gosh, for like 7 years now, and I don't think it's been one investigation where the whole team
Yep.
has ever been together. You know, it's always been parts of, or
Yep.
a special guest invited along with, you know, something like that.
It's the same with the team that I'm with too. It's so difficult to get everybody together at the same time because everybody has jobs, family life, whatever, and it's so hard to get the entire team together. It's frustrating, really, but that's life.
Yeah, you know, I accepted it early on just because of everything you said. You know, it's life, and
Yeah.
you have to accept that. You can't get aggravated at people for not being able to make certain investigations because things just come up. You know, things
Yeah.
happen. So
Well, after the story you told me about when you went with the girls from Ghost Magnets, was it Ghost? Yeah.
yeah, it was.
After
It
you
was
told me that story, I wanted to go. To be honest with you, because from what you told me that. Unless you want to tell, do you want to tell the story?
No. This is your interview. You
All right.
talk. You should be talking about Paranormal Genesis and the investigations that you've done, not me.
Oh.
Hal,
No,
again, you read my mind. I was getting to that too.
When you told me that, you see, when you told me that story about the girls running scared from the freaking cryptid, that made me want to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's the stories like that also make people not want to go because at any given moment you could really be in life-threatening danger. So
Especially if you're running, like you got to curb that instinct to run when you see something like that.
it's bred in us. That fight or flight
Yep.
is bred in us. It's a survival thing, and if you're not used to being in that element,
Mm-hmm.
and you find yourself in that environment, in that particular situation that's so awkward for you, it's uncomfortable for you, that's the first thing you're going to do is
Mm-hmm.
turn and run, which of course is probably the worst possible thing you could do. So
Yeah, because then the creature thinks, "Oh, game on! I'm going after that prey."
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Chris, tell us about your investigation, your team, and how you started.
I was originally with a team called Family Haunts,
Mm-hmm.
and they kind of like took me in under their wing and taught me everything. And we did a couple investigations. One was at a bed and breakfast in Pennsylvania, and that was an interesting experience for me because we all piled into the car like a bunch of tour. Like I wish I drove for one because I've never felt so piled into a vehicle like that before. But to make a long story short, I mean the investigation, the whole experience was just awesome.
what was the name of the place you stayed at, Chris?
I can try to remember. The Hublersburg Inn
Oh, okay.
in where the hell was it? I'm trying to remember exactly where.
Okay, well, we know it's in Pennsylvania. So
I know I don't remember the exact place. It was right on the border of Amish country.
okay.
We were seeing Amish people on carts every morning, and I'm like, "What's going on here? Like, where are we really?"
So, tell us about that investigation. What happened?
Well, we had Well, what happened was actually something happened to me before we even investigated, which kind of to this day freaks me out because I was smoking at the time, and I was like I was a skeptic. I'm not gonna lie, I was a major skeptic when I started. Like I took it from a skeptic point of view, and before the investigation, we all went out to eat, and we were with the team, and the team that was with us, like, I had a beer with my lunch, and the guy was like, "You can't be drinking. We're going on an investigation. You can't be drinking." And I'm like, I never understood that whole not drinking an investigation thing, but I had the beer. I went back, and they were supposed to do separate interviews before the investigation. Because my friend at the time, like the guy I was working with at the time, wanted to be on TV and he wanted to record every minute of it. So he was recording every minute of it. I chose to go back to the hotel and I wanted to relax a little bit because while they were doing all this, I wanted to relax. So I get back to the hotel and I had these like ski pants I brought with me. When I got there, I threw them on the chair. I didn't care. I was like, all right, let me relax. Let me try to relax. When I left for lunch, they weren't on. When I came back from lunch that day, before I went to lunch, they were on the chair. When I came back for lunch, they were on the chair. And I came back to my room and I'm like, all right, what happened here? Where did they go? So I proceeded to look through all the room and come to find out they were perfectly folded, nice and neat underneath the bed I was sleeping on.
Underneath the bed. That's a strange place to have it. Huh.
Now, this freaked me out. Scared the crap out of me. So I went downstairs and I interviewed everybody. I never got a chance to sleep. I never got a chance to relax. I interviewed the entire staff. I'm like, who was in the room? Who was in the room? Who was in the room? I went right to the boss, right to the owner of the place. Who was in the room? So the team is on their way back. I'm outside smoking 3, maybe 4 cigarettes at a time. Because I was just like, okay, what's going on here? Like, I totally was like freaking out. I'm like, what the hell is going on? And then one of the psychics on our team was finally telling me at the end, like, this was either before the investigation or after the investigation or during, because we started the investigation at that point in time. After I was smoking and everything like that, and we started to get going. Once we started to get going, I didn't find out till after the investigation that there was a slave girl or a slave. How do I say that? Like a maid, a ghost maid, more or less, was in the building and doing all this stuff while we were out of the room, and that's the theory they told me that they said it was like some kind of maid that came in the room and folded my pants and put her underneath the bed. Now I don't know whether they did this to scare me or not. But they were all gone. The whole team was gone. How, if they could have done this to scare me, I don't know how they did it because they were all gone. They all left.
Yeah.
And none of them were in the room.
And if it would have been a housekeeper, she wouldn't have put it under the bed. She would have put it on the bed or on the chair or whatever.
Well, I'd never been so freaked in my life. I wanted to drink. I wanted to go down for another beer. I wanted to drink as much as I possibly could. But I was like, okay. I was a skeptic, but that night I became a believer.
A believer, like, yeah.
Okay. I totally believed after that because I'm like, I interviewed the entire staff all by myself. I literally walked up to everybody and I'm like, "Are you in the room? Are you in the room? Excuse me, I'm sorry to bother you. Are you in the room?" Like I literally, and then the owner of the place comes up to me. She goes, "Oh, it's hotel policy. We don't go in the room." Like, okay. So if you weren't in the room, then who folded my pants?
Yeah.
To this day, I swear to God, I've been trying to figure this out. And every time I see those team members, they still make fun of me to this day. Like, "Oh, your pants okay, Chris? Did you find your pants?" And I'm just like,
"Hey, Chris,
oh, God.
Chris, who was the one who told you that there was a ghost maid that does that? Was it the manager of the hotel? Who?
It was the psychic.
Okay.
That was with the team. Her name was Jillian Hamilton, because the team leader was named Scott Jillian Hamilton, and his wife was Jillian, and she's like a borderline psychic / I don't know how to describe it. She's kind of in between. She feels things. Because the entire investigation, she started feeling things, and in one of the rooms, we were lying on the bed, and we were letting the ghost come to us, and we would just sit there, and my hair would like stand on end, like she's like, "Oh, the ghost is touching you right now."
Did it
That
feel
type
like
of thing.
static
I'm like,
cling? Is that what it like when you said your hair
yeah,
was?
like I
Yeah.
literally saw my hair on my arm like stand up, and I'm like,
Wow.
okay. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I guess she goes like it's they're here with you, like. Because I mean, what we did was we tried to switch people out of the bedroom so we could get different responses.
Yep. Was there a temperature
So, I
shift as
mean,
well?
well, back then we didn't have any of the devices that we have.
Well,
So I couldn't
did you
really
feel
tell.
anything?
Yeah, my hair was like it was really cold on my my right side. I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my right side. And you literally I felt the hair standing up, and I'm like, okay. And she'd be like, oh, he's wherever they are, they're right next to you right now. And I'm like, they're like, don't say hi to Chris. I mean, I actually at that point in time, because I was actually the only thing I had at the time was an SP7 spirit box, an Ovilus 3, and I forget what else I had. I was in my infancy. I was just starting to get into this, and I barely got anything through the SP7, and I wasn't getting anything through the Ovilus 3. Really wasn't giving me any responses either. But we were just like, we're going into different rooms trying to get responses, and that main room right there was like the main room where we got a lot of responses, a lot.
What other responses did you get other than your arm, like the hair standing up?
Well, yeah, supposedly at this hotel. I mean, at this hotel, there was a room that a drink would move across the bar on its own. So we eventually made our way down to the bar, and while this was happening, the phone rang, and one of the girls that worked there answered the phone, and some weird voice came through, and she flipped out. So we're just like, all right, what just happened here? Like, is that the ghost? Is that one of her friends messing with her? We couldn't figure out what it was, because at that point in time, we were like ready to shut the investigation down because we couldn't figure out what was going on after that. Like, I don't know whether the activity stopped or we just decided to cut it off.
Chris, did you guys have any EMF meters with you at the time to check any meter readings?
No, we didn't. I didn't have. I had like I had a millimeter, but I didn't know how to use it. I was still like I said, I was still an amateur back then. The only thing I tried to use, I knew how to use was the SP7 and the Ovilus. So I barely used the Mel. So it was. We didn't really use much equipment. It was more hands-on. And
so it was more old school style. Yeah. Okay. That's cool.
We were just leaving recorders running and hoping.
Did you get any EVPs?
I don't know, because to my knowledge, there's still review. The only thing we had were video cameras in each room, and there's still review. They still were reviewing the evidence. So I don't know. They needed someone to do it.
That's tedious going over the evidence.
Yes.
You don't just go over it once or twice. You got to go over it several times.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It was kind of weird, because all we were going on was the video footage. We didn't pick up anything. I didn't pick up anything on the Ovilus or the SP7. And my Mel meter, I didn't really understand how to use it. I didn't know what I knew now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If I knew what I knew then and now, like, I would have been better at it, because
we all have to start off someplace.
We all get it. We all get better with experience.
Yeah.
Yes.
The more you do this, the better you get at it. Absolutely.
Yeah. That's like, I remember one. Go ahead, Al.
I'm sorry, Kat.
That's okay.
Go ahead, Kat.
No, I was going to say, I remember one investigation we had. I had just purchased a motion sensor, and we put it in one area of the basement, and we all walked away, and it kept going off. Well, hindsight now, we didn't have any cameras set up with the motion sensor, and we should have, because maybe we would have been able to pick up something on the camera, but it was the first time that we had used it, and we never even thought. So now whenever we go out and we have motion sensors, we have the camera set up with it as well. So it's just all learning.
And you know what else you should do, Kat? Whenever you have a camera going, a video camera going, you should also have a digital voice recorder going as well, because the digital voice recorder will be set up at a different frequency than the camera's microphone. So you may pick something up on the digital voice recorder that you won't capture on the camera's microphone.
No, that's a good point. I have to remember that.
Yeah.
So Chris, tell us about the team that you started and some of the investigations you've been on.
That was the team was called Family Haunts out of Ansonia, and I kind of was learning from them. And that was like our first major investigation, because before that we were walking cemeteries. Yeah. The first investigation they took me on was the Ansonia Cemetery. And
is that the team that you're with now?
No, I'm not with the team. Well, I'm with. They call me when they need me.
Ah, okay. I misunderstood. I thought you had started a team. Okay, gotcha.
Chris, tell her the name of your team.
My team is called Paranormal Genesis.
Okay.
But right now, though, I don't really have much of a team. I'm kind of rogue.
Chris is like an independent contractor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he'll come out with other teams, and he'll invite other investigators out with him.
Yeah.
It's like a network of friends, you know? Yeah. And that's basically how he's been doing it. Okay, Chris, tell about some of your cemetery stories, or that one with on your thermal imager, that ghost you captured on that. That was pretty great evidence. That one.
That thermal imaging camera, that was probably the best investment I think I ever made.
Is that the FLIR or is that something else?
Yeah, I bought a FLIR. I have a FLIR, the TG165. Oh my God, I love this thing. I swear to God, I love it. I'm so glad I bought it. I mean, what happened was I went to a Paracon about a year or two ago, and I met with Dustin Perry. And Dustin Perry told me something very interesting. He goes, if you like ghost hunting, he goes, buy the equipment and go. So I kind of took that under advice, and which kind of led me more rogue, because I started buying the equipment and going. Because he kind of like said, he goes, if you really like this and you really want to do it, invest the time and do it. And it was the best advice he ever gave me, because that's how I am now. I'm like, if I want to go investigate, I grab what I want. I grab what I want to take with me, and I just take it with me and I go. I mean, it's to me, I mean, being rogue isn't all that bad, because you get to learn from someone else, and you get to interact with other people. I mean, to me, me and Al have done on some. I mean, one of the. I just forgot about the. You were leaning towards the ghost magnets with the twist trip I did with the thermal. I'm sorry, Al. I lost track here.
It's okay.
Explaining the story. But we went to this man. I was with Ghost Magnets with a Twist. That's actually how I met Al. They were doing a meeting in New York at Fishkill, and they had an investigation called at a mansion called Ventfort of the Gilded Ages, which is a mansion in Lenox, Mass. And come to find out, it was also where they filmed the Cider House Rules.
Oh, really?
Yep. And I didn't believe that was part of it until I actually saw the Cider House Rules. And I actually was watching. I have Showtime, or what's it called, Stars or whatever. And the Cider House Rules came on one day, and I just happened to be watching it. And when I saw the building on Cider House Rules, I was just like, no way. It just like, I couldn't believe it. Like, I've been there. Like,
it's a beautiful building.
It's if you ever get a chance to look it up and check it out, it's definitely worth looking into and checking out because it's a neat place. And that night we all split up into groups with ghost magnets, and we all started ghost hunting in certain areas. And I was by myself with the group, and I just started walking through the pictures with my thermal, and I just started taking pictures. And one of the rooms was called the chapel. And that's how I caught the picture. There was in the room, there was a chair in the center of the room and windows. And it was dark. I couldn't see anything because I broke away from the group to take the picture. Before I went back to the next room to go investigating, I reviewed my pictures through the thermal, through the FLIR. And I caught a woman in 18th century dress passing through the room when I was taking that picture. And I have the picture. Like it's kind of like I use it as a selling point because I mean, if people want to like know what I do, I pretty much pull that picture up and I show them this picture, and they're like, "Wow!" Like I'm like, "Can you see it?" And you literally can see her standing in front of the chair, like it was like the 18th century dress, period dress, and during this investigation, I went down to the tour guide and I reviewed the thermal and I showed them the picture, and they're like, they told me that room was called the chapel and the ghost was supposedly frequent that room.
Nice.
And just my luck, I just happened to be in there taking a picture. You know, I'm like, you know, I was like, wow, like that's awesome. They're like, you caught her. And I'm like, I don't remember the woman. They didn't tell me her name or whatever.
Yeah.
They didn't tell me the history of the house, but they were totally amazed by what I caught that night.
You're very lucky.
I can validate that photograph too, Kat. I seen that photograph. It's clear as day. It's a woman in 18th century garb walking past like a dining room table. You know, it's not somebody. People have questioned it being somebody outside the window walking by or this, that, or the other thing, trying to debunk it. No, it's what it is. What you see is what it is. Absolutely.
I'd be very interested to see that photo.
Send it to her, Chris.
I can send it to you.
Yes, I'd appreciate that. Thank you. You're very lucky because I've never picked anything up on my FLIR. Not yet.
Well, ever since I got that picture, I've been trying to take it out again and see if I could get more evidence with it because I'm amazed by what it does. Like it's I never thought that spending $300 on a $400 on a FLIR would be worth it, but holy cow! Like I'm glad I did. Like I'm totally glad I did. I'm like I've become like a tech guy now. I'm like I love the tech.
Yeah.
The more I keep playing with this stuff, the more I want to play with it. You know, use more of it.
Do you also use more of the old school? Like I know some people use compasses or things like that. Do you use anything like that as well?
Honestly, I don't. I wish someone could explain me the whole compass thing because I actually saw that episode. There was an episode of Ghost of Shepherdstown where Nick was using the pendulum. Nick was using his compass, and the girl was using the pendulum. And I do not understand the whole compass pendulum thing. I mean, if someone could explain that to me, I have a compass. I bought one because I was trying to figure out how I can use that to ghost hunt. And I think out of anything, I've got more responses, I think, from the pendulum than I did the compass.
Oh, really? I have a compass someplace, but I don't know where it is. I've been trying to find it, but I've moved several times over the past few years, and it's in a box someplace. But
I keep mine in my car because sometimes I feel like if I'm lost or something like that, or my car breaks down, I have a compass with me just in case.
Good idea.
So I can find my way home.
Did you get any other evidence that night other than the photo on the thermal imaging?
That was the only evidence I caught.
Yeah.
And actually, the guy running the place he thought this is the part that blew my mind. He thought I moved one of the statues They had dummies downstairs.
Yeah.
He thinks I moved one of the dummies into the room to get that picture. And I didn't. I mean, come on. Like, I'm going to carry a dummy up the stairs.
I'm sure somebody would have noticed.
I'm sure somebody would have noticed that.
It's not something you can hide.
I know.
What other investigations have you been on? I think Al mentioned you're in. Sorry, go ahead.
I've been to, just recently I was at the, what the hell's the name? What's the name of that place? It's a restaurant in Ansonia. I don't remember the name of it right now. It was the last place I went to.
Okay. Tell us about it, and you might remember the name after. Where is it again?
In Derby, Connecticut, Ansonia, Derby. Because I live in Connecticut, so it's kind of like this whole state is like.
It's a hotbed, yeah.
Yes.
Seems pretty much any movie that they make, it's Connecticut this, Connecticut that. Yeah, it's pretty wild. So tell us about that restaurant.
Twisted Vine. That's what it's called. The Twisted Vine. I was. This is the funny thing about that place. When I was a kid, my mom and dad and my family went there for brunch on Easter. And I didn't know I went there on Easter because I walked in there and I'm like, this place looks familiar to me. How come it looks familiar to me? And one of the waitresses and waiters that communicates with one of the ghosts was telling me that she was talking to the ghost and telling me that the ghost recognized me from when I was there when I was younger.
That's awesome.
And she said yes. And I was just like, oh my God, you're kidding me. That's crazy. Because I couldn't believe it. Because I mean, I had to be like 10, 11 years old when I went there. And one of the stories in that place was one of the guys burned in a fire. One of the employees got burnt in a fire. And I'm in there with my thermal. I'm in the spot where they were giving the tour and they were showing us all the hot spots. I literally was in that spot where the fire was happening, and I felt my heat, my body heat, like increase. I don't know whether it was the thermal or the ghost. Like I literally like I was like in a 2 seconds later, like if she didn't move me out of that room, I would have been sweating. That's how hot it was in there. And I'm thinking what happened was during the tour, I think she told the ghost, like, give him a sign that you're here. Because I think we both said that, like, can you give us a sign that you're here? And the heat in the room just like jumped from like 80 to 100.
Were you using your thermal imager at the time?
Yes, I was, but
did the temperature go up on the thermal imager?
Nope, nothing was changing on the thermal. I only felt it on my body.
Okay.
That's what I thought was kind of strange. I'm like, okay, how come it's not registering on my equipment? And what's funny was, at the end of the tour, they were about to close the place, and I was sitting in the corner. They have a little bar downstairs, and one of the ghosts liked to turn the light on. There's a little light that goes on and off there. And I put my periscope there, my Ovilus, and my thermal there, like the three of them there. The periscope really wasn't going off, but the Ovilus, this is the part that blew my mind about the Ovilus. I left the Ovilus just sitting there, and I was like, all right, let me just see if I could get any answers. The people that were coming up around me that night, the people that passed for them were coming through my Ovilus. So one woman came up to me and said her daughter like committed suicide or something like that. And her daughter was coming through.
Wow.
And then the woman that came up to the bar to get her drink, a couple of people she knew came through because they started saying the names David and Kathy, or like it was a couple of people she knew. And when it said David and Kathy, she looked at me and said, oh my God, I know those people. And I'm looking at her like they live right up the street. And I'm like, I couldn't believe what was happening because next thing I know, the obelisk was coming through for them, and I couldn't believe it. I'm like, everything they wanted to know was coming through, and I'm like, holy shit! I mean, I got invited back to that place. I haven't been back since, but I've been wanting to go back there.
You should.
And
Yeah.
Chris, next
So-
time you set the obelisk down like that, put a camera on it.
all right. I didn't think about that because I mean it was unbelievable what I was, and that was I love the obelisk. That's why I swear by the obelisk.
Yeah, I
a lot
like
of
the
people
obelisk too.
A lot of people say this. It's not. It's not saying what it says. It's not real. Yeah, right. I doubt that.
Well, the way I
After
look
seeing
at it, I find the obelisk. It's fascinating to me because it'll say words of something that's going on at that moment. You'll ask a particular question, and it'll come up with a proper word for what you just asked. It's not just random. Yes, it's random, but
Yeah.
yeah. And to me, that's fascinating because in the beginning, I thought, yeah, right, this is going to work, but yeah, it's pretty impressive piece of kit, I find.
I have the 4. I have the 5. I want to get the newer 5 with the speaker on the back of it. I'm trying to get that one too because I don't know. I like the 5 I have now, but you can't hear it. You can't hear it. It's loud,
Oh, really?
which is why I've been trying to use my 4. And I use my 4, and I swear to God, you can hear everything. It comes through. It's perfect. The 4 is unbelievable to me. I mean,
Then sell your 5 and just keep the 4. If that's the one that works best for you and you can hear it clearly, you don't need another obelisk. That's the one that works.
Well,
Stay with it.
I was thinking about selling the 5, to be honest with you, because the 5 doesn't really. But I want to get the newer 5 because I'm thinking maybe because they redesigned the 5 with a better speaker. And if they redesigned the 5 with a better speaker, maybe I could get the same results as I did with the 4. That's why I was thinking about selling my 5 and getting the newer 5.
That sounds smart. Yeah, I think you should do it.
Because the speaker on the newer 5 is the same. It's almost the same speaker as the 4. They finally woke up because I mean you don't. For one thing, with my 5, I don't understand why he put Wi-Fi on it. Like, why did you put Wi-Fi on a 5? Like, how many of all the locations you go into, do you really think they have Wi-Fi service in there? I don't think so.
Especially if you go to a cemetery.
Or you're walking into an empty, like an abandoned building.
Mm-hmm.
You really think the abandoned building's gonna have Wi-Fi?
No.
I doubt it. I don't understand why he put the Wi-Fi on it. I don't get it.
Hey, Chris, tell Kat about the cemeteries behind the restaurant you used to work at and experiences you had there. Those are great stories.
The restaurant I used to work at.
You remember the Mexican restaurant? You said you used to take the break in the back. There was a cemetery back there.
I'm trying to remember if there's a cemetery. I don't think there was a cemetery behind the restaurant. I think you got your stories. It's a different story.
Okay. I bet.
It's all right. It's good. It's okay. I mean, I'm just trying to remember which cemetery we're talking. I'm talking. Now I remember. Now I remember. You're right about the restaurant in the store in the. There's where I currently live in Southington. I used to work in a Mexican restaurant called El Sombrero.
Mm-hmm.
And during my breaks, I used to walk the cemetery. There's a cemetery right behind it, and I used to walk through. So it would take an hour break, and I'd walk the cemetery. I got so used to walking the cemetery, I would walk it all the time now. So I'm sorry, Al. You were right. I'm wrong. It took me a while to remember that.
I forget stuff all the time. So what happened?
Just recently, it became like my getaway place, that cemetery. It became like my shut down place where I wanted to go to relax after work, and I wanted to clear my head. And now I was walking this. I just recently I was walking the cemetery. I parked my car in there. This happened maybe like 2-3 months ago. It had to be like 9 or 10 in the morning. I'm not sure exactly, but I was walking the cemetery and I was making the turn. I normally do like 2 laps back to my car, 2-3 laps back to my car. I'm making the second lap, and as I'm making the second lap, I saw a woman in 18th century dress again pass through 2 of the stones. Now, unbeknownst to me, I stopped. I froze. Like literally, I froze at that point in time because I went to look for my equipment. I think I left my equipment in the car at that point in time. I don't remember if I had it with me or not. Because I tried to take. Ever since then, I tried taking it with me when I go in the cemetery now. I try to keep something, maybe my obulus or my thermal with me at all times. But that freaked me out because I literally stopped where I was walking. And I looked around and I'm like, all right, did I just see that? Like, did I just see that? Like, I had to take a step back. Like, wait a second, did I just see that?
Was she transparent, or did it look like you were actually looking at a person?
It looked like a real person. Like, it didn't look really transparent. But when I finally walked, I continued walking and went back towards my car. I stopped by those stones to look. There was nothing there. She was gone. Like, I literally walked through the stones to the stones that she was walking through to try to see if I could verify, all right, this is where she was at. This is where I saw her. You know, I didn't think about it. Like, and then as I walked the place more, I started talking to the maintenance guys, the guys that clean the place,
Yeah, the caretakers or
the caretakers. And they told me that there was a woman over there that died, a kid over there named Abigail. A baby, like a kid, a girl. One of the guys that came in there always used to say he saw a girl talking to him named Abigail. And I just realized one thing as I was walking by those stones. Her stone wasn't that far away from where the stones were where the woman passed through. So I'm like, all right, was it, I didn't know if it was Abigail or not. So the next time I went back in there, I brought my ovulus, I brought my thermal, and the first thing I did was turn the ovulus on and I walked. I had the 5 at the time, and I walked through. And I kept trying to see if something would talk to me. Nothing. I got nothing. Like, I don't get it. Like, either it was too late, or I didn't get it in time, or that moment was just the moment it was there, or I missed it. But I mean, I really wish I had I really wish I had my equipment when that happened. Because usually what happens to me when this happens is I'm not thinking about it. Like, how do I say this? How do I say something crazy?
Oh yeah, you have your mind on something else, and all of a sudden, yes.
I go in there to clear my head.
Yeah.
I mean, I go in there to like, all right, let me just erase my mind from what I did this week, so I can reboot and start all over. And that's pretty much what I've been doing. And then all of a sudden, seeing a ghost there, I was just like, oh shit, oh my god, like, like.
Have you seen her again? Did you only see her the one time, or have you seen her again?
I have been trying to get back there. It's been so difficult for me to get back there. I've been trying to find a day off to do it. And I haven't been back since. I've been trying to go back. But I mean, with the weather around here has been so crazy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, one minute it's nice and sunny. The next minute we have like a flash snowstorm.
Oh, wow.
It's weird. This isn't normal weather. For May.
Hey, Chris, have you ever gone to like a psychic or someone like maybe at a fair or something, and tell them how you constantly are seeing women in 18th period clothing? What is that? Now you've seen them like 2 or 3 times in your life, which is a lot. I would imagine. I've never seen one, and ask them why you always see, since you were a child, seeing women in period clothing like that. Have you ever asked anybody that?
Well, I found out something interesting. I remember we spoke in Naugatuck, and I went back to those two girls back to the office.
Yes, Darcy
Yeah.
and I forget the other one. Yeah.
Well, they kind of answered some of those questions for me when I was at the office that night. The same
Okay.
questions you're asking me now.
Okay.
This is the part that's funny. Come to find out that woman in 18th century dress
Mm-hmm.
is a woman that haunts my parents' office.
Really?
And I've been cleaning my parents' office once a week. I go down there and I clean it. And it's an 18th century house that goes back to 1765, I think. And they told me that the ghost of that house wants me to keep the house clean. Keep it clean, like get rid of all the junk, get rid of all the bad. Like, my dad has computers up there that date back to the 80s. And I'm telling my dad to save them to put them in a museum, and the ghost is telling me to throw them out. And I'm like telling my dad, keep them. You could send them to a museum. But the ghost. To make a long story short, the woman I've been seeing, has to do with the house.
Now, in
That
your
house.
father's house in Naugatuck, did you see a woman in period clothes there as well?
Yes, I did.
So that makes 4.
Yes.
Yeah.
Holy cannoli.
There's a link with
Okay.
you and her somehow.
Yeah,
I
there's a
forgot.
lot of thread there between the 4 of you.
I forgot to tell you the story about the time I was. What happened was a while back. My dad, my friend Tim and I investigate that house, and we were talking. We were the main thing of the house is slate.
Mm.
And my friend Tim was like, you might want to replace that slate. Someone's gonna fall on her. So my dad and I decided to spend the money and replace the slate. So we were actually doing this one day while we were there, and So he's like, Christopher, go get the water in the back so we can mix the cement and and make the cement so we can lay the slate down. I'm going back to get the water. This is my first trip back. Wait, it had to be like 3 times I went back to get the water. Either my first trip or my second trip to get the water, I saw the woman in period dress walk on the opposite side of me. And I was just like, oh shit. Like, do I tell my dad this? Do I tell my mom this?
Yeah.
I mean, my dad, who do I tell? I mean, first off, my dad was getting mad at me because I wasn't getting the water back in time to lay the cement. So he's like, bring me the water, Chris, bring me the cement. And I'm like, but I just saw a ghost. Like, what do you want me to do?
Yeah. Now
That
every
freaked
time.
me out because that happened during the day.
Now every time you see this woman, is it the same woman?
Yes.
Yeah, there
Woman.
definitely is a link between her and you. Have you ever tried to look into seeing who she is and why she shows herself to you so often? And at various places too.
That's what the girls. There were 2 when I went to the house to investigate, we were doing public speaking. Al and I were doing public speaking in Naugatuck.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking. I was doing my first time public speaking, and I was nervous wreck. And after that, my friend Tim, Timothy Dalton, who's another investigator I investigate with, was supposed to meet me at my parents' office that night because I went back with these 2 witches. They're Wiccan girls. They said they were witches. I don't know because they were just coming back from Salem. What's that called? What's that thing with Salem?
Salem witch trials. Yeah,
Yeah.
they were doing. That was the anniversary of the Salem witch trials. Yeah.
There was a big, crazy Salem thing going on, and they were just happened to be there at the same time. But when I went to the office with them, they confirmed to me everything about that woman without me even turning my devices on. I had nothing, none of my equipment on. I had nothing on. They're like, she's contacting you for a reason. She goes, because you clean the house. You clean the building. And the message was that I got to maintain the building.
Mm-hmm.
So ever since then, I haven't seen her.
Huh.
Ever since they told me that, I have not seen her
That's
at
interesting.
all.
Yeah,
Stop.
there's more here than meets the eye, though. We got to get you. We got to get you sit down with a psychic and discuss these threads between these four women in period clothing that you've been seeing since you were a child to this day. Something is someone's trying to get a message through to you, and you're not. I don't think you're quite grasping it,
Maybe it's a guardian. I don't know, but I definitely feel like there's a lot more to it than what those two ladies told you.
Yeah, and it's funny you said that, Kat, because that was the vibe I got as well.
Yeah.
She was, like it's a protector, and I'm not psychic by any stretch of the imagination, but
It's funny you guys mentioned that, because when I was first investigating with the team in Ansonia, because we went to a cemetery in Ansonia, and they told me that my great grandmother on my dad's side is my guardian angel. Now, I thought, to be perfectly honest with you, that I think that woman is her.
It's possible.
do you have any pictures of your grandmother, your great grandmother?
I was going to ask that. Yeah.
But she never looked like that. I mean, I'd have to look at pictures of her when she was younger, because I've never seen her in period dress.
Maybe it's not her then.
Yeah.
Someone else. Maybe it's someone older than her.
I don't feel it's
still
her,
family related.
Yeah.
They still have to be part of your family heritage, but somewhere further down the line.
It could be someone before her.
Yeah.
That I'm not aware of.
I definitely feel it's a family member, but
Yeah, this is definitely interesting. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. If you decide to consult a psychic and you get some information, I hope you message me and let me know, because this is really intriguing. I need to know more.
Yeah, my brain is scrambling right now. So
Right?
to hook him up with to find out more about this.
What I don't get, though, is if I've seen this woman so much, how come I don't see her in my apartment? How come I don't see her in my daily life? Like, this is the thing that kind of that's kind of intriguing me now. Is right now what I do is I work third shift for Amazon, and I would all right, is what I got to do is I got to scan the packages in, and I got to put them into the bags. Now, I'm scanning the packages in, and the last package I put in the bag, before I put the last package in the bag, keeps falling out of the bag. So I'm thinking there's someone behind me knocking these bags out of the packages, saying, "Hey, I'm here. I'm still here." Like, because every time I do that at work, every single time I do that at work, a package always falls out of the bag.
You're missing something.
Yeah.
You're missing something. Look, our lives are hectic.
So you
and
think they're trying
busy.
to tell me something?
Yes.
Yeah.
You're missing something. Yeah.
But
Don't know what it is.
I don't
Yeah.
know what it is either.
Now, all the times you've seen her, can you think of anything that was similar that happened at the moment with every time you've seen her? You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
I'm trying to see if there's any similarities as to each time.
The thread I'm seeing, Kat, is every time he's seen her, he's been in a very old haunted location. Okay, so it's always been a late 17th century, 16th century, 18th century home or place of business where you would see somebody in that period. So even the woman at the cemetery, did you find Abigail Stone, and did you look and see what year she died?
I did, actually. I did.
And do you remember what the year was?
No, I don't.
Do you remember what? Okay.
It was like 1760.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
There's the thread. There's the thread.
But where does that lead? This is very intriguing.
Yeah, I don't know where it leads, but that's the common thread. That's the thread.
Well, maybe good ghost women just like me.
Maybe. Maybe you're reincarnated too from someone that she used to know. I don't know. I like that.
I'm trying to, I have no idea.
That's good.
That's funny. Yeah, that's funny.
Well, gents, we're at the end. Do you have any final thoughts?
I'm good. I'm not, like I said, I'm just here for moral support.
And I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.
Chris, do you have anything else to...
Kat,
Yes.
just to mention, the gentleman that Chris keeps talking about, Timothy Dalton, he's from Ghost Prowler.
Okay.
And I sent you his contact info as well. You'll see it on your list when you go through
you
it.
sent me a whole bunch of people.
Like 30 people, I know.
Wow, you're amazing. Thank you. So, Chris, do you have any final thoughts you'd like to add?
Well, for one thing, I'd like to say if you really are into this and you really like it, keep don't give up on it. Keep going. That's the best advice I could give somebody. Don't give up on it. Like you guys have brought up a real good question. Like, how do I know what this means? I don't know what it means.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe I should start looking into it.
I think you
know?
should.
Yeah,
Very, very
I absolutely
intriguing.
think you did. Yeah.
Inquiring
Chris,
minds want to know.
You have a website or a
Yes, I have a
Facebook
website.
page you want to talk to tell Kat about?
www.paranormalgenesis.com. And it's got a short bio about me in there. It's got my link to my Facebook page,
Okay.
my blog, and then it has some of my evidence in there. And some
nice.
of it is from the office. I didn't get a chance to tell you about the Ring doorbell.
Oh, tell us about that.
Tell her, Chris.
Yeah, go ahead.
My dad and I just installed the Ring doorbell at that office because we wanted to monitor what was going on. And not more than 2 days after we got the doorbell, we were seeing orbs on the doorbell. And the video of those orbs are on my website at www.paranormalgenesis.com.
I'm going to check that out.
He's got a great video of the orbs. Oh my God. You got to check it out.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to check it out.
This is not dust. This is not moisture. You have to see these orbs. Mind-boggling.
That's interesting. Yeah, definitely going to check it out. And I'll also, when the episode gets released, I'll be adding the links in the show notes so people can just click on it and take them right to where they can find you.
Do you want me to send you that picture?
Yes, please. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so very much, Chris, for being here. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Al, for recommending him. This was amazing.
That's my pleasure, Kat. You're a sweetheart. Anything for you.
Thank you. You guys take care. Well, we've made it to the end of another episode. Thanks so much for listening. Until next time, take care of each other. And if you'd like to be on the show or have questions and comments, just drop me an email, paranormalheart13@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you.
Paranormal Heart would like to extend a special thank you to PurplePlanet.com for supplying the music for the show. The views and opinions expressed on Paranormal Heart are those of the host and participants.